do research on the public policy issues that affect you and your families every day, like taxation, education, health care, property rights, those kinds of issues. And what we do is we research those and we make the research available to your elected officials, to Ms. Coley and Ms. Rasmussen and Ms. Benson, and to the members of the cabinet, the governor, the legislature, in the hopes that they can make the best possible policy for you and your families, the citizens of Florida. We are nonpartisan. We're not Democrat. We're not Republican. We're not Libertarian. We just want good public policy for Florida. So what we're doing with you here today is part of our new civics education initiative that's targeting high school students around Florida, hoping that we can either help you know more about the founding principles of our country or get you interested in the founding principles of our country. And our moderator today is going to tell you a little bit more about the ladies that are here to talk to you about their passion for public service. So, without further ado, I do want to introduce you to our moderator. Our moderator is Catherine Davis, right here in the middle. Catherine is interning with us this summer. And if you want to intern with us this summer, come talk to us later. And you can be one of, well, you can be like Catherine next summer for Girls Day. But Catherine is a rising senior at Auburn University. She's a native of Tallahassee. She is a graduate of Lincoln High School. Do we have any Tallahassee girls in here today? Yay! Anybody from Lincoln? No? Okay. All right. Still a great school. Catherine is majoring in political science at Auburn. She is president of Mortarboard Honor Society at Auburn and the Cater Society, which recognizes the top 15 women leaders at Auburn. Catherine has done several internships. She's interned with the Governor's Office of Policy and Budget and the Governor's Legislative Affairs. Is that correct, Catherine? Yeah. As well as with several lobbyists. And she is hoping to go to law school next year, and she wants to practice constitutional and foreign affairs law. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Catherine, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here today. We know you're probably really excited to get this over with and find out how your election results came out. How do you think they went? I know you'll be excited to hear those. I'm so glad to be here with you today. Thank you for having us. We'll have 4 panel members with us. You'll see there's an empty chair here. We're still rating on Judge Nina Ashafani Richardson, who is a local judge here in Tallahassee, and you'll hear more about her later. We also have Secretary Holly Benson, who went to Dartmouth undergrad and University of Florida Law School. She's born in North Carolina, but has been living in Florida since a couple decades now, so we claim her. She served in the Florida House for 6 years and with the Department of Business and Professional Regulation from 2006 to 2008, and since 2008 has been Secretary of the Agency for Health Care here in Florida. So we're excited to have her with us. Again, on my right is Dee Dee Rasmussen, who is the local school board representative for the Leon County School Board, and she has 3 young children in town. She was just telling me she had 3 children in 17 months. Can you imagine that? So 2 twin daughters who are 12 and a son who's 13. All right. While working in the Capitol, oh my goodness. She spent 15 years working in Florida's executive governmental offices and has a bachelor's degree in political science and communications from FSU and a master's degree in public administration from Florida State. Any of y'all think you're going to go to Florida State? What about Florida? She's a full-time executive director of the Florida Campus Contact since January of 2001 and served on community boards including Big Bend Hospice and a number of others. So thank you for being here with us, Ms. Rasmussen. We also have to my right State Representative Marty Coley, who began her career teaching in Thomasville, Georgia, but was born in Jackson County? Calhoun County, all right, and resides in Jackson County now, where she began teaching in the school system and has been a professor at Chipola Junior College for about 16 years, and she's been in the Florida House since 2005. So thank you, ladies, so much. We're glad to have you with us today. We'll also have Judge Nina Ashafani Richardson joining us here shortly. Judge Richardson was actually born in Ethiopia and moved to the United States as a young girl And she went through Florida schools and is now a judge as of this January. She was sworn in. She was elected in 2008. And before then, she was the first African-American female to lead the Tallahassee Bar Association and the first African-American to lead the Young Lawyers Association of Tallahassee. And she's done a number of other things, including being legal counsel for the Legal Aid Foundation, a number of things. I think you'll enjoy getting to know her as well. So we'll start out with a general question for each of the panel to answer individually. What prompted you to get involved in public service?
Thank you so much for the invitation to join you. You know, I think I've been in public service my whole life. It seems like forever. I mean, you all remember when you used to have to do that, you know, they'd ask you in school what it was you wanted to be when you grow up. And I imagine, because you're here, that you all have also answered the question talking about public service. So I have to admit that my very first campaign that I ever worked on was the summer before 8th grade. I worked for this woman who was running for the state house. Her name was Ginger Bass. Her last name is now Wetherill. She's married to T.K. Wetherill, president of Florida State University. And so all I did was I mailed the little envelopes. I sent thank you notes to all the volunteers. But I thought, that really matters. Later on, when I was in high school, I got to serve as a messenger for her in the House and a messenger over in the Florida Senate. And then, you know, then good things happen. So, you know, I think public service is a calling. And we sure need lots of bright women in politics, so I hope that you all are beginning a lifetime career in public service.
I think Holly's story reminds me a little bit of my own. I remember when I was a little bit younger than you guys, or maybe around your age, and somebody asked me what I wanted to be when I graduated, and I said, well, I think I'd like to belong to the United States Senate. And later my mom said, gosh, do you think maybe you could just say you want to be an aide or something? You know, that sounds kind of a little lofty. In fact, I ended up being a Senate aide, among other things. I was here at Florida State and thought I probably wanted to go into political science. But here was my big decision. As a freshman, I either wanted to be in political science and go to law school, or in child psychology and get a PhD in psychology. So here was my great thinking. I went to FSU, I took one intro to psych class and one intro to poli-sci. I got straight A's except for a B in psych, never took it again. I don't recommend that approach. But anyway, I ended up majoring in political science, which if you're thinking, how many of y'all, raise your hand if you're thinking of majoring in political science? Okay, we all need to go to dinner tonight and have a long conversation. No offense, because you're too far gone. No, I say that really to just prompt your thinking about what it is you really want to do, because public policy is so much more than just politics. And so the influence, and like Holly has found a niche, she is at the head of the Agency for Healthcare Administration. That is an area of expertise. You could be an environmentalist or involved in the environment and want to become the head of the Department of Environmental Protection, or a legislator that sits on an environmental committee. And so one of the things I found out early in my career when I first started interning at the legislature when I was about a sophomore or junior here at FSU is you're kind of a mile wide and an inch deep on lots and lots of different issues. So if you think you want to go into politics, but there's also like a passion that you have, you might want to think about getting a minor in political science or a double major, but thinking about that other area of interest that you have in addition to politics. In this day and time, I think it's pretty much a given that you might as well plan also to go ahead and go straight on into law school or grad school. I was going to take a year off and then go back to law school. Well, that doesn't happen. And as you heard, I had 3 children in 17 months. So actually, I had them after I had my graduate degree. But I just want to give you that little bit of food for thought. I think I agree that public service is a calling. You certainly don't go into it for the money. It is a passion. And it's something that I know that if you're already here, you're probably already sort of on that track, but I would just encourage you to think about all the different ways you can be involved civically, not just as an elected official or as a staff member or as a lobbyist, but tons of, I've seen legislation turn on a dime because of volunteer lobbyists that were passionate about an issue, learned enough about it to be an expert, came up here and told their legislators their own personal stories, and actually influenced public policy in a great way. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways to be involved and engaged as a citizen. And I'll close with this one quote from Dewey, who is a philosopher from 100,000 years ago, who said, "Democracy has to be reborn in every generation, and education is its midwife." So what you're doing here is a big part of your education. I tease I work with college students. I'm like, and they go, I have to go to class. I said, don't let school get in the way of your education. You know, you're learning everywhere you go. Be a sponge. And so I'm really glad that you're here. If our democracy is not reborn in your generation, it won't be able to sustain itself. So I'm thrilled that you're here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
And I also have 3 children, but I did not have them in 17 months, so my hat's off to you. I'm Marty Coley, and I represent House District 7, which is here in the Panhandle. I actually have 9 counties, the 2nd largest district in the state. And unlike the 2 ladies that you heard, I never, ever had any intentions of being where I am today. I started out in education. I taught 7th grade, 8th